What's up, basketball nerds?
Oh, bringing it
Welcome.
back.
Yeah, thought I'd bring that back. Welcome to From the Logo. Fun week as a Blazers fan, up and down week, I guess you could say. At the very least, they look like they might be competitive, which is nice. I have a few times watching the games. I was like, they're fun to watch, competitive, and then they completely laid an egg in the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter last night, and that was pretty brutal. What did you guys think of the 3-game win streak? What did you think of the loss last night?
Go ahead, Riley.
I mean, I was really enjoying last night's game until that last 7 minutes, at which point we looked like a team that is in the middle of a serious rebuild that doesn't, back to that 20-some win team that I was predicting in our video last week. But it was a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed watching a lot of these guys. I mean, back to what I said last week, Shaden is just like out of the gates with just an incredible offensive season so far. He looks like, definitely should be a contender for most improved player. Definitely a contender for, all kinds of awards and recognitions for someone at his age, as just a second-year player. So, I don't know if he's going to be an all-star. Probably not. But, if he keeps playing like this, he could work his way into that kind of discussion and maybe get some votes. I was just talking a little bit early before the podcast about how I was not expecting that this year we would be talking so much about injuries. And that's been a little bit disappointing. With all the youth that we have and everything, I thought that this would be, finally we're out of the injuries, worrying about everybody's, like solar plexuses and, past broken legs and everything.
Scapulas.
We got all these young guys who are going to come in and be healthy and athletic. And sure enough, it's still just kind of injuries. That's the NBA. There's no way around it. The NBA is brutal. I'm not particularly worried about Anthony or Scoot like long term. I think these are injuries that they'll recover from and be fine. It sucks that we're missing out on seeing them develop right now. More concerned about Robert Williams. I'll pass that over to Colton. You can pop that news for the audience.
Well, there's a lot to unpack with what you said, your thoughts on the week. Robert Williams is probably going to miss the season with a knee injury. And that was a major buzzkill because the Blazers really have been performing. They're playing teams that aren't the best, probably in the Raptors, the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, I'm sure, will get better, and the Detroit Pistons. But what I think is pretty awesome is it's nice that the Blazers are hanging their hat on the defensive side of the ball rather than trying to outscore teams constantly. It's interesting that the issue so far has been lack of shooting rather than lack of defense. And the defensive rating and efficiency has been way up. The athleticism, length on the floor, you can tell it makes a difference. It's nice to not be undersized. That makes a huge difference. And we've been saying that for as long as this podcast has been going on since our first episode. We talked about lack of size. So I've loved it. The 3-game win streak was fantastic. It was a lot of fun, kind of out of nowhere. I think Toumani Camara deserves a special shout out. He has been a gem. He has been kind of a steal in the second round. His impact reminds me of a rookie Nicholas Batum. And I think he has, still more potential on the offensive end if he consistently hits his threes. We've seen a lot of players playing great defense and kind of fitting more into Chauncey's system. Chauncey has been running less zone, which has been helping the defense. He's still running it occasionally. But the real problem has been the offense. There's not really a lot of shooters on this Blazer squad, and that's going to hurt them this year. That's going to be one of the major flaws, along with probably
one of the issues is no Simons right now. I mean, that has to be pointed out. Last night, I couldn't help but think multiple times down that fourth quarter stretch that Simons' 3 here or there would have completely changed the complexion of the game, and it probably would have happened. He's such a good shooter. At least he would have drawn the defense out a little more. He's definitely the playmaker and the clutch option on the team, the most established one. Sharp has obviously done a pretty admirable job of that so far this year, but he's not quite as seasoned as Anthony is.
Yeah.
The fact
and
is,
we saw it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It looks like we're missing shots. Like sometimes you have this situation where one of your players goes out and other guys kind of take those shots. And so you can't really say like we're missing 20 points a game, because if he was there, would leave less shots for Shaden and Jeremy and all that. In this case, it actually looks like the Blazers really need another shooter out there. Like we would be taking more shots per game if he was there. It seems like it's kind of slowing down the offense. Sometimes guys don't know whether they're supposed to take the shot or not. Jeremy has gotten, I think, better over the last couple games, but we need Anthony back, because we're probably missing out on a legitimate 10 or 15 points of offense a game, that isn't being distributed to somebody else.
When he's not on there, it's all falling onto Brogdon too, which is just not fair to ask of him. I mean, he's a veteran guy, but he's a role player. He's not supposed to be your go-to guy down the stretch.
Yeah, there's a lot of clangs down at the end of the game from Jeremy and Brogdon. Jeremy, to me, this season has been a walking meme of I will not pass. He will not pass.
I think
Brogdon,
I think that's probably it,
but
I think that's probably in the game plan. I mean, to me, it looks like he's being told by the coaching staff that he has to carry the offense because there's no one out there who is a seasoned professional.
I don't know. I feel like there's plays on the table if he is not playing head down as he is right now. But I think he'd be best served kind of spreading the floor if he can, being more catch and shoot, because there's no other shooting out there on the floor. And I think that really hurt the Blazers going down the stretch in the fourth quarter, obviously. But you could see they just packed the paint. The Grizzlies packed the paint, dared the Blazers to shoot, and that's why the offense ground to a halt. You saw anybody who dove into the paint was getting smothered. Jaren Jackson had a couple of blocks along the way, but that was tough. And I think the Blazers can build on this week, though. They were right there for a 4-game win streak. A 4-game win streak has not happened in Chauncey Billups' tenure, to my knowledge. So
wow,
they were really close. So with Dame, I don't think they had a 4-game win streak. Maybe they did last year at the very beginning. I don't know if they did, but it almost happened.
Yeah, I during the game last night, we were watching StreamEast.com, shout out StreamEast, and we were watching the Grizzlies broadcast, and they were talking about how the Blazers hadn't had a 10-point lead all season long, and they did it at a certain point last night's game. Obviously, that didn't last.
Yeah, what is it, 26-2 run or something like that?
Oh, man.
Not great.
Brutal.
Not great.
Brutal.
But so the loss of Robert Williams, how do the Blazers overcome that going forward? What do you guys think?
That's a way to phrase it I might throw in there. What do you think of DeAndre Ayton so far? I think he's probably the most interesting question to discuss maybe on this team right now.
Well, couple stats. He is second in the NBA in rebounding, 13.3 rebounds per game. He's fifth in steals in the NBA. So, and that's at 2.3 per game. He's been way more mobile than Nurkic than what we've seen in the last couple of years on defense. I think what's really hurting his game so far, there's a couple things, but one is the lack of shooting. There's not a lot of spacing in the middle for him to operate. By the time he gets the ball, on the rare opportunities he gets the ball on offense, he's getting swarmed. Outside of last game, he was shooting a good percentage when he was getting his opportunities. His mid-range was automatic. He's averaging
nine shot attempts per game right now, which is a career low.
Exactly. So he's not getting the ball, and when he does get the ball, there's not a lot of space to work with, and he's still shooting good before this last game. He was a major part of the 3 wins. And yes, he didn't really score well down the stretch of the last game, but I think about 3 of his misses were around and out hook shots. They were almost all like in and out. A couple of those kind of fall a little bit differently, and it looks a lot different going down the stretch. So I think he's been really good. He started out a little slow in that last game. He missed a couple bunnies in there, but he's been major force on the rebounds, major force getting steals, getting some blocks, mobile. So I've been liking it so far. Hope he gets the ball more. I hope they run more plays, pick and roll, pick and pop.
Yeah, so far it kind of seems like the way that Ayton goes, so goes the Blazers. You know, in our games where we've won, he's scored in double digits, and when he doesn't score double digits, we don't win. And you know, it's hard to say whether that'll keep over the whole season or not, but it definitely seems like when he gets involved in the offense, which isn't necessarily all on him. In fact, it's not all on him. It has a lot to do with the matchups, the gameplay, who's at the point when he's in there, and what Chauncey's game plan is. It seems like Brogdon's done a pretty good job of finding him at times. It seems like when Brogdon's not playing and we're playing some of the younger guys having the ball in their hands more, it seems like they have a really hard time getting it to him in a place where he can make a good move. So yeah, inconsistent a little bit so far. I love the rebounding in general. The rebounds, that's something that we've needed for a long time, that athleticism, that mobility, and that ability to, you know, go get the ball. I do just wish that we'd run it through him more. It's on a lot of people. He needs to be more demanding. You know, he needs to ask for the ball. I saw a few times where he got like really good position, and I swear no one even saw him in there. Like the point guard didn't see that he had position. Didn't seem like the coaching staff knew that he was in there with position, and he wasn't calling for it. So I know, as you know, someone who's had to play that role a little bit, when you get position, you got to scream for that ball, because if you're not getting it down low, you got about a half second where it's, you know, almost a guaranteed two. And if you miss that window, the whole possession's busted. So he's got to get more demanding and more assertive. And he's got to make some of these hook shots. I want to see him go up a little stronger. That's something that we've all dealt with Nurk for years, you know, those little running flip shots and stuff. And he's just got too much athleticism for that. At least Nurkic had an excuse. You got to go up strong, man.
The thing that worries me the most about Ayton, and I think Phoenix fans are all too familiar with this, they'll amen me for this, his mentality concerns me more than anything. He's got all the physical tools and all the talent, but he just does not seem like he has an ounce of alpha in him. And to be a big man in the NBA and not be a demanding player, to vanish at times, to not demand the ball in your spots and force your way to either to the free throw line or easy buckets of the hoop, it's a little concerning. I do understand it's a new offense. He has to take some time to adjust to it. It's coaching and teammates and lack of shooting all play a role. But there was several times last night in the game where he had position, and he hadn't got the ball maybe 2 or 3 times before that, and then he does get position and they throw it to him and he gets tied up, or he loses the ball, or he misses a hook shot, or it's like, if he's not going to be involved, he's at least got to take advantage of his opportunities when he does get them, few and far between. And he really didn't do that last night. In other games, maybe a little bit better than last night, but that's my major concern with him, is he's got to take it upon himself, or at least talk to the coaching staff and talk to his teammates to get himself more involved, because 6 points is just not going to cut it for supposedly our best player, one of our best players, top paid guy on the team.
Well, 2 things in my opinion. So, well, not opinion. So as far as converting his percentages, he's shooting 56% from the field, even with last game. So I know it's been 7 games, but you take that game out, he's hitting like 75% of his chances that he gets. I think that's finishing strong enough, even if, you know, whatever. That's an amazing percentage, especially with how many mid-range shots he's hit. The other thing, it sucks that Scoot went down with that ankle injury, because the beginning of the third quarter, before he went down in that game, he and Ayton were developing chemistry. Ayton and Scoot ran the pick and roll. I think it was like 4 times in the quarter, and I think 3 times Scoot gave an assist to Ayton to get him involved in the play. And then Scoot went down at the end of that quarter. They were really starting to develop some chemistry. The problem with the rest of the Blazers, there's not a lot of pass first guys on the team. There's just not. There's not a lot of guys who are looking to pass first other than Scoot. So what happens when you're a big guy in a league full of guards. Shaedon actually has been passing it pretty well too. I want to give a shout out to that, but he's not getting the ball. And Phoenix has seen that issue too. So there probably is something to be said about demanding the ball. But I, in the last game, did see him calling for the ball in the post a couple times. And there was sometimes when he didn't, Riley, or right. But there was a possession going down the stretch that really stood out to me in terms of Ayton could have had the ball and didn't get it. And that was Shaedon Sharpe on a fast break. And it was Ayton running, and it was Brogdon out at the 3-point line. Shaedon had him for a lob. He had Ayton. There was one guy in the middle, and Shaedon kicked it out for 3 instead of lobbing it. And that was like, oh, and Brogdon missed the 3. So I think that there's opportunities to get him the ball. I think that when he gets the ball, he does well. Last night he missed some, but they were in and out. And I just think they need to pass him the ball more. Get him some mid-range, pick and pop. Run LaMarcus offense if you need to for a little bit to get him touches. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't think Brogdon and Grant should be shooting 24 times a game when Ayton gets 7 or 9 shots. I feel like there's a way to get him the ball that's not, you can split the shots a little bit better, in my opinion. But we'll see what they do. I know that Shaedon Sharpe, like I said, has been passing better. We'll see if that chemistry kind of develops with Ayton. Shaedon Sharpe's also leading the NBA in minutes played, by the way, minutes per game.
Wow.
So
because of that overtime game, probably.
What's that?
Because of that overtime game, probably. I think he played like 48 minutes in the overtime win.
Yeah. So we'll see how that develops. We'll see. I love what Shaedon Sharpe's been showing on both ends of the floor. It's good that he's been getting a lot of minutes, but we really would like to see Scoot, Simons out there and see what happens when they're healthy.
To touch on your original question of how do the Blazers handle Robert Williams going down, who do you think is that next man up at the center position? Moses Brown, or do you think they just tighten up the rotation?
Well, I mean, we'll see what Riley thinks about this. I know that they do like running Jabari Walker small ball, and Jabari has a nose for rebounds. He definitely crashed the glass well. His 3-point shot has been pretty poor. He's not really spreading the floor for his size, but he's crashing the boards hard. Moses Brown, he looks like he has cement shoes. I don't know if he's it. We got Reith coming in the background as well. And he can provide some spot minutes, but it probably will be Moses Brown, but we'll see what happens. What do you think, Riley?
Yeah, I think it's going to depend a little bit on matchups. I mean, last night when Williams went out, I don't remember exactly when he went out, but he definitely stopped playing at least as much at some point during the game. And then it seemed like we saw a lot more Jabari after that. We saw quite a few minutes with Jabari last night, and he looked pretty good. So I think there's a good chance that we might go a little small for a little bit, see how that works. I don't really have much faith in Moses Brown, and I don't really think that the coaching staff seems to either. So I get the feeling that we're probably going to see more Walker minutes, more Kamara minutes, more Jeremy minutes, just kind of all of those guys who are really like kind of power forward, small forward hybrids in a way. I think we might see those guys playing up and playing a little bit bigger. Hopefully we don't have to rely too much on DeAndre to play a ton of minutes. I think his minutes are pretty well structured. He seems to be doing pretty good, but honestly, we're back to kind of needing some bigs again, which is sucks. I mean, we looked like we were, looking pretty good on size, but with Williams going down probably for the year, we're probably going to have to, are we going to have to try to find somebody? I don't think it's Moses Brown, and I think we might be a little bit small without a real backup center.
Tank City!
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm trying to lose anyway.
Shout out, I know Colton already said this, but shout out to Monty Kamara, man. That guy is probably the best perimeter defender I've seen on the Blazers since Wesley Matthews, maybe. I mean, it's a short sample size, but he has been elite, locking down the other team's best player in crunch time situations multiple times. Super fun to watch. Seems like he can hit the shot, rebounds like a maniac. He looks like a total steal, and he could end up being the best player we got out of the Dame trade.
Maybe. We'll see. So far, he's definitely projecting as like a fifth starter type of guy already. Like the guy that's your fifth best player, but he's like like the perimeter defender guy who can hit threes and hustle and rebound.
Does
He
the
has
dirty
been-
work.
He has been amazing. Like that stat I sent you guys last week, I think it was 2 games ago. It was like the whole second round, all their counting stats was like almost as much as Tumani, or like Tumani almost had as many counting stats as the rest of the second round combined to that point. And that could be because the Blazers are, rebuilding, but also he's played well. He's rebounded well. He's defended fantastically. He's hustled. And now last game, we saw a little stretch in the third quarter where he scored like 8 points in about a minute and a half. He hit 2 threes, had an offensive rebound and a putback. So yeah, he's been fantastic. And Phoenix has to be kicking themselves because they've started out slow. They could use some depth. I think Tumani has already shown as much promise as Nasir Little did his entire time here because of the defense.
Looks like he might be better than Nurkic too. He might have been a better fit than Nurkic on that team. I wonder if the Suns fans are already starting to figure out they're starting to recover from Nurk fever. Their Nurk fever is returning back down to baseline.
Quick shout out for spending 4 years in college, by the way, for Tumani, because he looks like pretty polished, I have to say. That's one thing that I'm really noticing. He's 23 years old, and that's getting a little bit old for a rookie these days, it seems like, but he looks like he's actually ready to play NBA basketball, which is it's just a nice way to plug someone right in and hopefully have a little less lead time.
Not only did he spend 4 years in college, but he spent 4 years at Dayton. Respect to you, sir, Mr. Kamara. I don't know if this is worth touching on for very long, but I'd also like to throw out Skylar Mays. I like what I've seen from him so far, especially on the defensive end. The dude hustles, plays. I feel like a lot of the defensive plays and stops in last night's game in particular, he was the catalyst for a lot of them, playing physical defense, on point or on ball, point of attack defender. And also did a serviceable job on the offensive side. Didn't turn the ball
dunk?
over. Yeah,
his that was massive a crazy dunk. I didn't know he could dunk.
Yeah, seems like that's another steal that the Blazers picked up over the last couple of years. He's been very solid option.
Blazers haven't had a third point guard for most of Dame's career. It's always been Dame, and then Simons runs it on the backup, and then
or CJ
runs it in the backup, and then when one of those guys are out, we're like, who's going to run the offense? So it's been nice to have Skylar for sure.
All right, do we want to move on? You guys ready? We never really did this to start the season. We are going to quickly go over our broader NBA predictions. Who's going to win the championship? Who's going to win the MVP? Maybe rookie of the year, et cetera, whatever else you guys want to do. Where should we start? Just NBA champions? Kick it off with the most important award. I guess
Sure.
I'll start. It's early, and this might be a biased, or I don't know if bias is the right word, but a little bit recency biased approach, because they are the only undefeated team left in the NBA. Boston Celtics look really good with Drew Holiday running the point. I think that they will come out of the East. I think that the Bucks will give them a run, but their lack of, not playing together for very long and some of the defensive liability at the point guard position might put them in a little bit of trouble against an offense as high powered as the Celtics. So I think it's probably going to be the Celtics out of the East. And I think no surprise out of the West. I got the Denver Nuggets. Let's go to you guys for your predictions from each conference, and then we can say who we think is going to win it all.
Yeah.
Riley?
Well, at the risk of sounding kind of boring, I'm thinking something real similar. No, I think that I'm looking forward to the matchup of Boston and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think there's a really good chance that's what we're going to see. I don't have any faith in Philadelphia. I never really have. I don't think Embiid's that kind of guy on his own. I just don't think that he can put a team on his back and run to a championship like contention, and they have done so little to give him serious help, and they're still reeling from the fact that they made the horrible mistake of letting James Harden on their team at some point. That I don't think that they're going to be a serious contender this year. So I think it's going to be Boston and Milwaukee. I think it is going to be Boston over Milwaukee in the East. In the West, I kind of think Denver is going to have their way with the conference. Honestly, the Dallas looks like they could be pretty damn good this year. So far, they're looking like kind of like they could put up the contention, but I just don't have faith.
Yeah,
it's kind of how I feel about Philadelphia. Honestly, I kind of feel like it's a little bit fake. It's incredible talent, but it's like regular season talent, and regular season talent isn't the same thing as postseason talent. And no one else in the West, I really think, is going to be able to match up with Denver. Just the way that Denver's built, the way that the experience they have now, the fact that they have the best player in the NBA on their team. I think, Golden State, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I don't think that they're a serious threat. I don't think LA is a threat. I think they just went the way of Philly and making the worst mistake you can make in the NBA of letting James Harden onto your basketball team.
That LA.
Yeah, sorry, of course. So
I thought you were talking about the LA.
I'm thinking Denver and Boston in the finals, and that'll be a good series.
I have a few comments to make before Colton, and then you can go in. I just want to say, did the 76ers get better by subtraction, getting rid of Harden? There's a real possibility that they might have gotten better just by getting rid of him, allows Maxey to be more of the ball handler and flourish. And also, they did get deeper when they traded Harden. I mean, bringing on Batum and some of those guys, it at least allows them to spread out the minutes a little more, maybe be able to rest Embiid a little bit more. And then also a quick note on the Miami Heat. I don't think they're sniffing the finals this year. They tanked their whole season trying to get Damian Lillard in the offseason, and I'm here for it. We're all rubbing our hands together over that one. Come on, all three of us.
That's the thumbnail. Yeah. Miami's downfall.
And then a quick note in the West, just a couple question marks. Lakers question mark and Suns question mark. I think the Suns, until they're fully healthy, it's hard to really tell what they're capable of. It's not like it hinges all on him or anything, but I do think, it's hard for me to imagine Nurkic being the starting center on a championship caliber team. It seems like they're going to have to find another route in order to get there. And then the Lakers, man, they've looked very shaky so far. They're just getting older, getting more chances for injuries. I don't really think I'd trust either one of those teams to make a serious run at the Nuggets.
You said Nurkic has played in 3 playoff games that were won in his career. So, and that he could get carried by the Phoenix Suns when they get fully healthy. You're right. They're kind of an incomplete. I want to jump to the East first, really quick. So here's why Philadelphia to me is a mirage. Kelly Oubre is efficiently averaging over 20 points per game. He can average 20 points per game. I don't think he's ever done it efficiently, and he's doing it now. If that stays and they have a nice 4th star along with Tobias Harris, because they have 4 players averaging over 20 points per game this deep into the season. That's a pretty crazy stat. So I don't know how long that's going to last. Maxey has been a revelation, but I don't think Philly matches up. I think in the East it's a snooze festival. Milwaukee's even kind of questionable right now, just because Middleton is still working his way back. The backcourt defense is hideous with Dame and Malik Beasley. So I think Boston kind of cakewalks the East, and they might, by the time the playoffs come around, Milwaukee might have gotten it figured out. I will say, keep an eye on the trade deadline. There could be somebody that comes out of the weeds in the East that we don't predict. this season, just kind of based on who's available for trade as always. But in the West, Jokic is obviously a machine. And if Phoenix gets fully healthy, they might be able to compete with Denver. I actually, weirdly as it sounds, I think Westbrook was actually playing well to start the season for the Clippers, and I don't like how this is gonna. I think what they were doing was working kind of. They were really kind of starting out at like a buzzsaw pace, the Clippers so far. If the Clippers are somehow healthy, and that's the biggest somehow that we have in the league, other than Blazers big staying healthy. If the Clippers stay healthy, they can compete with any team. But with how load managed Kawhi was last season, and he still got injured in the playoffs, I don't have faith in them being healthy. If they're healthy, they're a major asterisk that they could compete as well. Other than that, it's probably Denver, Boston, and I'm picking Denver because Jokic is that guy. So,
yep.
I think it's a good. Go ahead.
I'm also picking Denver. I think that Jokic is going to have an even better season than last season. I think he's going to we're going to right the wrong of him not winning the MVP last year. I think he's going to have an incredible season, win him to another championship, and I think he's the MVP this year.
Dang, branching into the next category.
Wait, who's gonna win the NBA Cup in season tournament?
Yeah, that's the most important. Does anybody fully understand what's going on with this?
Yes.
You do?
I do, yes. So the games count as part of the regular season until the championship game. The championship game doesn't count in the regular season standings. The rest of the games do. And we're right now in the group round. So you play 4 games, 2 home, 2 road. The Blazers have played 1. They won 1, by the way. Yay, right? So after the group round, whoever does like best in each group advances, and I think there's 8 teams that advance. There's like one wild card from each conference that advances, and then the top of each group. And then whoever makes it to the top 4 goes to Vegas. Basically the games are to be decided on the schedule, except for the championship game. Very confusing. And
I appreciate that breakdown, but when I asked, does anybody know what's going on with this? I didn't mean the logistics of it. I meant the emotionality of it. Is anyone gonna care? Like, what's it gonna look like? Or when they're hoisting up that little cup, is it gonna look like a joke? Is it gonna be a meme when some team that has no prayer of competing for the NBA championship is hoisting that up?
Pat Bev.
Yeah, that's what if the Blazers do it? What if the Blazers win the inaugural?
It feels like another play-in banner sort of situation where it's like a consolation prize, or it has the potential to be a consolation prize that's just hard to take seriously. I don't know though. Maybe they'll make it mean something. I mean, in England they have like random cups in their soccer leagues, and the fans actually care. But the NBA, it just seems like a different animal here, where the only thing that really matters is the NBA championship. The fans know it, the players know it.
Okay, who's gonna win it though? Shoot your shot. Pick a random team, because it's gonna be a random team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like the Chicago Bulls or something like that.
Oh, okay, nice. Riley, who you got?
I've got Clippers.
I could see that. I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a very
the play-in banner team.
Yeah, I think that they're the perfect franchise to
win. They're gonna jump up on the announce table and start hyping as the fans.
Cat is gonna talk about this the rest of his career too. You just
the first NBA trophy winner. I'm gonna quickly, but even though this is jumping back in time, I'll just make my prediction clear, clean sweep, that I think the Nuggets are going to beat the Celtics if everyone stays healthy, and I think. MVP, yeah, I think it's got to be Jokic if he stays healthy and the team keeps playing like they do. I just don't see anyone really. Maybe Tatum might give him a little run, maybe.
That's my number 2. But
maybe Luka if the Mavs aren't a complete mirage. Other than that, I can't really think of anyone who's in the position to compete.
Wemby's gonna win it when the Spurs are the 4th seed.
Yeah, man, that's another story we could talk about for the last few minutes here. Wembanyama, man, that guy looks like he can play some basketball. Very interesting story to watch. Me and Riley were talking about it the other day. It's been kind of, as much as it's annoying that the Spurs got him, the one thing that I kind of like about it is that it's Greg Popovich's next act. You know, he stayed with the team through a rebuild where it looked like, you know, like, why are you still on that team? And he's been rewarded with a generational player and a guy who looks like he can compete real quick.
He's gonna win Rookie of the Year if he stays healthy. It's obvious already. And
Agreed.
not only that, but the Blazers were one lottery number away. Just to let you guys know how close we were.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
He's winning Rookie of the Year, and he looks pretty legit, I have to say. I had some questions about, you know, his build and all that, but he looks good. And I was telling Kirby the other day that any team that wants to make a run with their current team right now, they better hurry up, because I think that Popovich has plans where in the next 2-3 years we might see some serious royalty going on in San Antonio again. I'm predicting, you know, 3-peat potential again with Pop.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.